Hello. In this clip from our Justia webinar, AI in Law Exploring 30 plus game-changing use cases in 60 minutes, Greg Siskin continues sharing the second set of 10 examples of AI use cases, such as converting legal language to plain English, reviewing resumes, anonymization, among other cases. If you want to see more Justia videos on law practice and legal marketing, be sure to subscribe to our channel.
Legalese to plain English. Again, this is sort of in the, it doesn't have to be marketing copy, but a lot of times lawyers are explaining very complicated legal concepts to clients or to the public. And this is a prompt that you can use for that, where basically maybe you're trying to, you're getting ready to explain a Supreme Court case that just came out, and you have you want to, the law is rather complicated and you're trying to figure out how to explain it in a hitting key point. So that's a prompt that you can use for that. Recommendation letter writer. So we all have to do it at some point or another. And it is it's sometimes something that a lot of people are procrastinators on because you have a lot of other things going on, but it's this is a prompt that will be hopefully helpful. But basically it gives the brackets again are the things that you need to substitute in. But it's if you're sort of like struggling to figure out how to get something decent, especially for somebody who really want to give a good recommendation letter for, this prompt will hopefully help you with that. Reviewing resumes. So this is sort of the, I guess the opposite. It's sort of a cousin of the last one. But in a lot of cases, you are advertising for an attorney or a paralegal or whatever that position that you're hiring for. You have a lot of resumes that are coming in, and you want a tool that can help you sort of cut through and find the best people. So in this case, with ChatGPT, depending on the version you have, you would upload the resumes in a single file. Then you would basically tell it to analyze the resumes for candidates applying for the position. And you're going to have to give it certain key, you're going to have to give it the title as well as the, from the job posting, what the key qualifications and skills that were required in the job. And then you can get a report on the resumes that you've uploaded based on comparing them to each other, and you can get more elaborate and tell it to do scoring systems and things like that. But that's something that may be helpful. Somebody just informed me though. I haven't done this personally, but you need to actually also make sure in your state law that there are some rules in a few states now on using AI for screening resumes for jobs. So just make sure that you're aware of what your state's rules are on this, or discrimination rules, etc. Anonymization. So a lot of times you have a document that you want to put in something public facing, and there's personally identifying information in there that you want to get rid of. This is a prompt that can help you with that. But basically telling it to go into that prompt, and you can tell it to make up names. You could tell it to put brackets, or anything like that. But this is the tool that's a lot faster than the manual way of handling the task. So that's this is a prompt that, you obviously can customize. But if it's something that you have to do on a regular basis, redacting, it's a faster way to, you can obviously redact in Adobe and other tools like that, but this is a way that you can potentially use AI to help you along the way with that. Tutor or coach. I actually use this one a lot for personal tasks. So this is one that you can actually and I wanted also to show this because of the interactive elements on it. But let's say you are I've used it for fitness and nutrition coach. I've used it for language coaching on there. If you're trying to get into computer coding from scratch, you can pick any subject that you're interested in, and you can ask it to actually design a whole course for you. And then you can actually tell it, working off of this prompt, to start the process, and you're interacting with it. So it'll ask you questions, like in Language Tutor, for example. It will give its lesson, and then it will ask you at the end questions, and then you answer them, and then it will tell you, it'll interact with you. So you can do that in a bunch of different areas. For the coaching, for fitness coaching as well, it'll tell you this is what you're supposed to do this day, and then you go in and say, okay, I did this, these are where the problems were, etc. And it will actually give you feedback on there. So it's a pretty interesting, there's some pretty interesting use cases you can use it for if you're looking for that kind of thing. Drafting. So this one is there's a lot of potential ways. I mean, I've already discussed some examples of things you can use for drafting, but really what I'm talking here about is the complex drafting that lawyers do, whether it's producing a legal brief or in our case, in immigration law, we have to produce these petition letters that may be a 10, 15, 20-page document that we're sending to the government outlining why a client qualifies for a particular immigration benefit. Those are, obviously there's a tremendous amount of possibility as far as saving time and potentially saving a lot of money and it works really great. I mean, you can get philosophical issues about whether it makes sense to bill by the hour anymore when you have these kinds of tools available, especially as they get a lot better. But I did want to mention in there that they sort of have some limitations, and this is why you might want to, think through which tools you're using. One is that you need to think about legal ethics. So some of these tools, like the free version of ChatGPT, you may be training their language model, which means information that you're putting into the prompt may work its way into ChatGPT and somebody else's answer. Obviously, that's a problem. Also, sometimes there are human examiners at companies like ChatGPT that will have they will review certain posts because they might be violating a policy. A lot of times, lawyers are discussing sensitive topics in their documents. Immigration lawyers that do asylum, for example, or criminal lawyers. So you need to be very cognizant about who can see information you're putting into that you're putting into a model. So you need to be careful about which tools you're actually using, and then also keep in mind with those token limits that I was mentioning before that sometimes you have difficulty getting the depth and length of the document that you really need. So you might produce it section by section with different prompts. You could use a tool like NetDocuments Pattern Builder, which is it builds on it basically build an interview. You upload documents along the way, and then it will behind the scenes create that multi-prompt setup and then generate a much richer, longer, better document than you would just get out of a public language model on there. But drafting, I think, is the part that's going to change our profession more than anything in the next couple of years. Legal research and all that is great in terms of especially with the good tools. But I really think it's on the drafting side that lawyers are going to probably be using these tools more and more. Due diligence, e-discovery. There are tools. There's a lot of generative AI that's working its way into the big e-discovery software platforms and due diligence platforms. But if you're just doing it sort of on if you're not using those software products and you're doing the DIY approach on these things, you can use these generative AI tools to help you, for example, summarize all the documents that you're feeding into it, looking for sort of those needle in a haystack issues that may be in a particular document, I wouldn't recommend, abandoning human review. In fact, you have that ethical obligation to really closely monitor the output of these tools, but they can be quite good at finding things that you might miss if just because of basic human error. They're also really getting better, these tools, as far as handwriting recognition and being able to handle bad photocopies. So it's that's one of the nice things about them compared to tools that, just a few years ago, handwriting recognition was extremely difficult for AI tools to use, and now they've gotten quite better. Okay, interview your data. I didn't really know how to title this slide, but basically the idea is that if you have a set of data, maybe it's a report from your case management system, maybe it's a government report with a lot of data in it, and you are trying to get insights into that data, or basically, just asking questions, natural language questions to figure out what the data is actually saying. It can be quite helpful in that regard. And this is a sample prompt that you could use, say, for a case management report that you exported from your system to try and get better insights into your practice. Obviously, you could use it for any kind of thing, but I just wanted to raise the point that when you upload things, it can be spreadsheets, it can be all kinds of data, and it doesn't necessarily just have to be a text document that you're asking questions about. A lot of you are probably using. You're here today. You have a Zoom account. You may be using Teams, but a lot of times lawyers are. You may be seeing more and more of these in Zoom chats that you're going in, where there's an AI note taker that's in there, and the note takers is, you may be curious about what they actually do. They've been around for several years, and before they were using generative AI. They were still doing, Otter, they were using AI for quite some time, and they were producing things like, precise transcripts. But with the generative AI tools that have now been integrated into products like, Zoom has their own, Firefly, we use Read.ai at our law firm on there, but they can do a lot of other things, including summarizing meetings, which is really great if you don't want to pour through a transcript and you just kind of want to get the gist of what you discussed in that particular meeting. And then finding action items, who said what in the meeting that they were going to do. That can help you a lot of times figure out after a meeting's over what your action items are. And it also does a pretty good job now with voice recognition and knowing who's speaking and who's supposed to be doing what. So it'll tell you exactly the end. Greg said he was going to do this. Bob said he was going to do this, and it can do that with the with that voice recognition capability. One thing that we are using it for at our firm is in initial consultations we do by Zoom, and which is most of them. We, with the client's permission, will record the program, and with the AI tool, very helpful, especially if you're delegating a tasks onto paralegals and other lawyers. But also our clients themselves are asking for for us to share share the report with them, which has all of these things, and that's, I think, helping us get better do a better job for our clients, because they have a better understanding of what we told them we were going to be doing, what their responsibilities are, and it's it just basically helps to ensure everybody's on the same page. So I really love those tools and recommend it. Do read the terms of service with these tools and make sure that you're, for example, not training their language models, and that they are with the data that's coming out of your recordings. Zoom got into trouble with that some point last year. And after some very large law firms announced, and some healthcare systems announced that they were getting they were going to be moving to a different product, Zoom quickly changed their terms of service on that. But that is something that's sort of a tip for any of these, is always make sure that you read the terms of service. And by the way, you can put the terms of service themselves into ChatGPT where it can, and ask it questions like, are there things in there that should concern me as far as my privacy, as far as preserving my confidentiality of my data and all that? It does a really good job. And maybe you wouldn't think that it's self-aware. It's not, well, you know what I'm talking about. But basically, these tools can be quite good at being able to find problems with the tools themselves. Case management materials. This is one that you probably haven't thought of, but you can, in a particular practice area, you can use these tools to help you come up with all kinds of things to help you maybe more give. If you're not using a fully fleshed out case management system for your practice area, these tools can be really helpful in helping you come up with checklists and intake forms and questionnaire forms and process flows, etc. So that's something that you can use to develop those sets of materials. I have this sort of divided. The prompt is really kind of long that you could use for this, but the example. Sometimes it's a good idea to put an example of what you wanted to do in the end, to help it figure out how to structure the document that it's going to be producing in the way that you want. And that's why I included a second page for this one.
Thanks for watching. We hope you enjoyed this video. And if you did enjoy it, please hit the like button and subscribe to our channel for more videos on law practice and legal marketing. See you in our next clip.